Boopy doopy doop boop boop. The meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Always a good sign. Hello, everybody. Let's just have a look here, see what's happening. If it really is on Facebook. Something here from Todd Medina. Come on, son, where are you? There you go. Ah, there we are. It started. Joey, how dare you? Don't you know who I am? How important I am? I'm important. I've got no idea what's going on. What a strange and crazy week. I'm going to blame Amanda Lawrence. She touched me and it's had an impact upon me. In fact, feels like my whole heart, soul, and everything else has opened up to the cosmos. You know, this has been one of the most powerful weeks that I've ever known. But very exciting too, and very full of promise. And, you know, I've been looking forward all day to this meeting this evening or tonight with Rhea. I don't know anything about Rhea at all, except I know she's got the same sick sense of humor that I have. And so tonight, I don't know where she is. I haven't seen any comments from her and all that. So she may be hiding, right? But I'm hoping that she's just about to click on soon. And let me just share this with a few places first. So share to a group. There we are. So Solargy or Solology, as some may call it. I'll share with Solargy. That's one. The Lightstream live broadcasting group. Famous indeed. Going on there. And then all these others, I'm not sure because I normally get told off. Let's have a look. The Ravens Tavern Pagan Witch. Oh, it was all sorts of witchcraft things and everything. The Essenes of Truth. Oh no. Awake TV. Just bear with me. I'm working on it. I can't see any more here. Let's see. Breathing Space. Oh, that's a good one. Let me just find one more. No, I can't. So that'll have to do. Okay. Everybody with me? I can see Shannon. No, Sean and Shanine. Got anything else to say, old chap? Oh, hang on. There's all sorts of comments here. Don't know what's going on here at all. Live. No, that's not right. Is there anybody out there? I don't know whether anyone can see me or my iPad's doing funny things. $19.57. Just bear with me while I do this again. No. Oh, don't be at it. It's been working perfectly well all day today. 17 comments. So the comments are coming through, but I just can't see them. So let's have a look. Ah, there we go. There we go, chaps. Ernie. Joy. Ah, Joy. Anne-Marie. This one is really, really special, brilliant person. I adore her. I adore her and I don't even know her. Right. But she's supposed to be like coming on, but she hasn't sort of clicked on yet. I might have to go and find her on Messenger and do all that sort of stuff, but let's have a look. Kuan Yin, we see you. I see dead people. But look a bit deeper, then I see alive people. So all we're waiting for now is the special guest. She's probably hiding. How can I find her? Let's see. Let's use another. Neil Plester and Joseph Lamb are watching. Hello, chaps. Nice to see you. Let's have a look what we're doing here. So a couple of minutes to go. Let me just see if she's sent me any messages at all. Do 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 do. Just meditate, will you, while you're waiting? Let me go and see if she's all right. Let's see. Rhea, I'll put a thing. You okay? Question mark. I'm pretty sure I've sent her the link. Let's have a look. No, got nothing going on there. You might have to listen to me for a bit. Just bear with me while I just make sure that I've done things correctly, because I mean, it may be my problem. And I don't have to explain myself to anybody. But let me go on here. You are using enhanced encryption. I take this, copy that. Go back to that there. Do 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 do. Rhea, you okay? Let me do that link again. Sorry, she's saying sorry for some reason. I don't know why she's sorry. You don't have to be sorry for anything. Let's see what she's saying. Panic attack. Yes, I have that effect on people. Are you sending me a link on HT on here? Yes. Click on that and see how you get on. It's great here, isn't it? Don't you think? Seems that the lives pops on and off here at my end. Let's see. Okay. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh, very peculiar this, isn't it? But you know, one mustn't panic. What's the point of panicking? No point at all. So go here. Okay. No idea what's going on. La 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 la. Lane Leonard, hello, Elaine. I'm just trying to connect now. I think I've sent it. Let me just do this on my phone. So Messenger, Rhea. I don't know why that's not working. It's very strange. La 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 la. There must be a reason for this, I think. Right, I think, oh, look, something's happening. Something's happening. I have a good feeling now. Normally, as Todd would say, when these things happen, it ends up being a fantastic show. La 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 la. Did you send the link in Messenger? Yes, I did. Bring them on camera. Well, they're not in my room yet. Ah, ah, ah. Admit, this is looking good. Rhea, you're on mute. Let me see if I can unmute. Hello, my love. How you doing? No, do you know?
Full disclosure, there was panic attacks there and almost the quit.
You're a bit low down. Is there any way you can, so we can see a bit? Ah, that's it. Fantastic.
I can come closer as well. If you might see my Kuan Yin behind me. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh, we love Kuan Yin. We love Kuan Yin. We know her more intimately than she realizes. How are you doing, my love?
Jelly.
Jelly. That's the best way. That's because you're a sensitive soul who's been hiding but didn't realize that she couldn't get away with it forever.
You texted me, and my answer was, will you ever come on? Are you going to come on? And my answer was, I will someday. And your reply was, right, what date? Because someday meant never.
Yeah, I know that energy, and I know that feeling. It's called ducking and diving and dodging and weaving.
Oh, we all know all about the ducking and diving, don't we?
We do. Now, I know nothing about you at all, so what's your name and where do you come from, number 2? I don't know why I chose number 2 there. It's probably just my sense of humour.
Well, ask our Graham. Our Graham will, what's your name and where do you come from? My name is Rhea Magdalena, but it's not really, obviously.
No.
And I come from Northern Ireland, the town that Sinead Mohan, the very famous Sinead Mohan, was born in. Sinead, actually, there's a huge big gorge where we both were brought up. She is on one side of it, and I was brought up on the other. So you could almost throw, if you were very strong, throw a stone. And we never met until this book. So yeah, so people think, that we know each other, that we run about, that we grew up. No, we didn't. We never knew each other at all. But I have to say, and she hates being praised, but I had lots of difficulties, and my reading with her was a rocketed me into the 4th dimension. Started all this really off for me. Although I always was kind of spiritual, even though I'm from Northern Ireland, I wasn't raised religiously. But I remember I was a seeker, Joe. I didn't belong to a chapel or a church or a mosque or anything like that. But I used to go in because they used to be open then. I don't know if they still are open. And sit, in the silence. Because I always had faith. Always had faith. But it wasn't a religious God. Although I did used to read Bibles. And I was really a seeker. I went everywhere. I looked, I thought, because the graveyard, strangely enough, was one of my most peaceful places for a long time. My dad had a relative, she called herself my granny, but she wasn't. And I was very close with her. And funnily enough, the night she died, I dreamt she died. And I woke and I told my dad. And he told me that he was waking me to tell me that she had died, So she's been with me a lot since. And anytime I get any kind of a mediumship reading, it's straight away. She's just there, So yeah, the gravesite where she's buried used to be where I went for solace. And I remember being bullied and stuff, and I remember getting off the bus a wee bit early and going in and sitting in there, So it was a strange one for this country because there was no religion involved. Yet I looked and had my own faith, And I'm lucky that a lot of people would say they had to hide this or hide that. I'm lucky that my dad just laughs about all these things and always did, and my mum is accepting enough. So there was never no when I had a lot of precognitive dreams as a child. First of all, I learned that I always wanted to tell about them, because when they came true, it's no fun saying I actually dreamt that.
Yeah.
So, there was never much of an eyebrow raised. It was kind of just like, oh yeah, So I I think in that way I was lucky to be very open to whatever I wanted to believe. And people talk about when you're a child, your parents shut off this part of you and that part of you by telling you don't do that. I didn't have that. No. You know, so I think that's why as a child, you know, there would have been more precognitive dreams and stuff. There was no shutting it off. Until I think drugs and alcohol came into play, you know.
Yeah, so your childhood then was relatively free of familial and parental conditioning. Yeah. What about your school life? Do you want to tell us about that at all? How were you at school?
In this country, you know, we've got the two religions, so the school was very much one religion. So me and a couple of other girls were very, very much in the minority. Back then, in the 90s, we took it to a teacher, you know, and then she kind of went, you know, there was no talk about bullying back there. There was no big thing. And they kind of just said, well, you're in the minority, so you just need to kind of get used to it. So that was my first school. Thank God I left there. It was a grammar school, and I was very much not high flyer at all in that school. But that's a testament to they didn't nurture the students. So I then moved on to a school down in Derry, and it was a brand new school. They were only open a few years, and I remember walking in the door, and they had this huge thing on the wall that their whole ethos was about the child, self-esteem, and it was also I can't remember the name now. All religions, not comprehensive, whatever. And I remember walking in and being flabbergasted because I went to a grammar school that was really old-fashioned. Put up, shut up. Do your best. If you get an A, why did you not get an A star? You know all this. I went down there and I couldn't believe it. And that just shows you the difference, because I thrived at that school. I really thrived. And the teachers, they were so good. And even I was able to kind of give back to them in a way, because I won an award for the highest score in one of my GCSEs, you know. So they were only open a few years, but it really kind of put them on the map for this big ceremony, and, you know, all this crack. So it was really. But, Joe, all along and through that, I was using drugs and alcohol from very, very young. So the world just seemed too noisy. I was just from my chatting to a friend about this today. It's just too noisy. She was talking to me today about how she's kind of numbed herself out with a lot of her emotions and stuff. And I was saying to her, but, you know, you've made a great success of your life, because I got to a stage where books and disappearing into the world of all these novels and Alice in Wonderland and stuff wasn't enough anymore. So I started to get to experiment with other things. And then type of person I am, even when you're comparing it in a room full of addicts or alcoholics, I'm like top of everything. No, what do they say? Everything in moderation. No moderation ever. Still. So yeah, I really made it. You know, I made it there quite quickly. Seen other people who have slowly along the years got to a stage where drink's getting on top of them and things, but I just got in there and rocketed, you know. But then that's lucky enough in a way too, because I'll be 5 years clean and sober in November. And before that, it was on, off, on, off, on, off. I couldn't get it right, you know. And my life is just like a game of two halves. This past 4.5, 5 years, and before it was just totally different, unreal. My heart chakra, all my chakras probably were shut hard tight, you know. They had no other way to be, because every morning I got up, I had to get, well, it was tablets. It was prescription tablets and painkillers and chemist painkillers and stuff. So every morning I was in a mini withdrawal, so I had to get a fix, and that was just me numbing, very numb or in turmoil, you know. So what heart chakra could be open through that, you know? So I kind of got clean and boom, you know, this all started to open up to me, and emotions, didn't know what they were, you know.
I know it well. I'm like the Tin Man, or I used to be.
Yeah.
But you see, I understand. You've got a beautiful energy about you, and I don't tell lies. You know, I just feel things. You know, and you seem to have immediately. You've got that, if you don't mind me saying, that motherly, smotherly, comfortable energy about you. You know, and you know you come across as very calm and cool and collected. Now you mightn't think that, you know, because on the inside you won't be feeling like that, but you do come across as that, you know. And I think, and I don't know what you feel about this, is that we all have certain obstacles to overcome. And it's during that process of overcoming that we get to know our strengths, you know. Because like you, my heart was closed down because I was afraid from the day that I was born. And I basically had to use, because I was on the lookout all the time, living on my wits. And so, as I've said to you before, I was ducking and diving and dodging and weaving. And I became expert at reading people's faces and body language at a very early age, you know. And that's how I survived most of my life. And when drink came along, it released me temporarily from that. It almost showed me what freedom was like, you know. But I know it was disinhibitory, and it almost like blocked off one half of me. So that for the first time in my life, I had a single sort of flow of thoughts, and that was like freedom. But then when the drink levels and the drug levels went down, and the DTs and all that came in, you know, then the other side of the head came back in then to torment me with, don't you remember what you did last night, you know? And to a large degree, Rhea, I can't remember a lot of things, you know, because I found out, and I got my recovery through Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and I don't mind saying that, you know, but, and, you know, I'm just expressing and being honest about where most of my understanding came from. But I was in AA for 9 years before the penny dropped, you know what I mean? And I used to hear people saying he's not ready yet. And I used to think, who do they think they are? And I know it's not quite 9 o'clock yet, so I'm going to like leave the language out of this, if at all possible, because they call me Dr. F and Joe, as you know, but I'll try my best. But I used to hear them saying he's not ready yet. And there are people who can see where you are at the level of the soul and the ego, you know what I mean? And I was one of those people who had to go back out again, feel a bit more pain, a bit more tension, a bit more panic, a bit more turmoil before I came back in again, and they repeated the same message to me. And my whole purpose for living now is basically to share my experience, my strength, and my hope with other people without embellishments. I don't do that very well because I like the poetic license that goes with it. But just to say to people, this is where it was. And there's lots of people who watch these shows who remember where I came from, right? They've seen me progressing, and I've got a lot of hope that it's getting better, one step at a time, one breath at a time, and one day at a time, you know. And I live my life by that one day at a time philosophy. One thing I don't do, and it's a great miracle, as I don't give a shit. Oh, where we are, we've started. I don't give a shit what other people think of me anymore. And I really, really mean that. I'm not interested in anybody else's ideas on how I should live my life, because I've got such a feeling that comes up from within me, right, that guides me. Now, I'm not foolish enough to listen to this and not talk it through with other people, because I have several very close friends who I just spilled the beans about every feeling that I have. They don't give me advice as such. They just basically say, is that it now? Because I know that I've got to come to my own decisions and then accept the responsibility for the consequences of those decisions. To me, that's true freedom. What have you got to say about that then?
For a start off, I'm glad you started talking. I'm starting to panic there because I do know you in interviews. You're very good at keeping quiet and letting the interviewee speak. Yeah. And I have those same friends, and it's so true that boundaries has been a huge thing for me. I love, and I know you don't give a damn about anything, and I parts of my life are like that. Parts aren't, obviously, because even to come on interviews and stuff, it was like, no, it's so silly. When I thought about it and talked it through with a very good friend, it says I've got these couple of caricatures in my head of a couple of faces who could see this, and like that was always my reason for no. Because Shanine used to ask me, we're from the same town, and I'm like, these people will watch and they'll say, do this and that, and and I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people in a long time, and I have thyroid issue, and I have weight on. And first of all, they'll say, "Look at the weight on," and then I thought to myself, and this is a huge bolt of lightning. I am actually, because I'm an agoraphobic, and I don't give a shit about people who don't like to use labels. They save words for me. Yeah. So even that, so this was the bolt of lightning show. So you may have done me a huge, bigger favor than you knew by asking me on. Is that these caricatures in my head are what are stopping me living my life? They don't know that. They don't give a shit. They're living their lives. Yes, they gossip and they're very nosy and they like to find out people's business. But I'm doing this kind of, staying at home, not doing interviews, not doing things that I could possibly give my, self-esteem up or, spread the joy. That's where I may not have many talents, but I just spread the laughter. That's what Facebook is. I use it for stuff, steal memes and pass them on and stuff. So it was a huge realization that the thought of these ones saying these couple of phrases, and I'm watching it and passing the video around me, and I really just realized I did not understand that before. I really didn't. And it was like, boom. And even as far as the agoraphobia is concerned, I was out yesterday and I was challenged by a very good friend of mine on the tribe, Boggy's tribe and Ava's. I was challenged by Ava because I told her about my favourite tree and I hadn't seen it in a year and been with it because I was afraid to go out. So she challenged me. So if you challenged me, I'm going to. So out I went and I spent an hour with the dog. So I've been out 2 days because I realised that. So you bringing me on here, you probably knew anyway that there was a bigger picture.
Well, I seem to have a habit of looking deep into a person and picking up their potentials. And I can honestly say to you that you've got no idea of the potentials that you hold within yourself, right? It's absolutely massive. I can actually feel there's an energy in you that's trying to push these things out, but there's also a resistance in it to allow these things to happen, and and you've heard this. You see, I'm getting a big thing up my spine talking about this now. So it must be true. Yeah, in fact, it's coming through really strongly. So the idea is getting over ourselves, isn't it? And we can't get over ourselves. This is just my experience by thinking our way over things. It's got to come. You see, the problem is I always knew what I needed to do. It was just lack of power that prevented me from doing it. And I realized that all my power was locked in and compressed into self-protection. I was afraid all the way through to the core, and whether this happened in this life or past lives and all that, I don't really get into all that. I just know from the moment I was born, I was hypersensitive and emotionally, right, I was just afraid all the time. It was 100 forms of fear with 1,000 different faces. I was afraid of absolutely everything, and I'm beginning to see now is in a sort of metaphysical way. This is the cause, the fall from grace. You know what I mean? That we sort of start off in paradise, and for some reason we're separated from source. And I can see now, and I call that the primary separation anxiety disorder. And I think everybody on the planet suffers from that in some sort of way. And mine seems to be connected with a separation from the mother, from the sacred mother, and my whole life. And I didn't know any about this, Rhea. All I knew was feel shit, get pissed, right? Feel shit, get off me head, and I started very early as a child, with solvent abuse, because I used to sniff. I used to do a lot of airfix, making model planes and stuff, right? And I used to inhale the Airfix glue all the time, and it used to send me into, and I used to get there, right? And then when I was in other places as well, I would basically snort chloroform just to try and get this right effect, and I've forgotten about all these things, but all I ever wanted to do was seek oblivion, So people would call me all sorts of these different names, right? But all I was ever trying to do is get out of my own mind, And I mean, I don't normally share these things openly, but I haven't got anything to hide anymore because I'm like you. I'm clean, I'm sober, and I've just celebrated 28 years of clean living, right? Not clean not clean language, but clean living, and I'm even more cleaning my act up even more now with paying particular attention to the food that I'm eating, for quite some while now. I've become much more conscious and conscientious about the food that I'm eating, and I only ever feel like I'm starting afresh every single day at a time, and that's what's happened to me, and so would you say then that you had a spiritual awakening of sorts? Because, I know Todd asked this, tell me, when did you wake up, but when did you actually see the light or get clear vision or clairvoyance or what?
I think I woke up and fell back asleep several times. Well, and just drug induced, alcohol induced, and I know that actually there are some young age stories, and I'm trying to remember them and I kind of forgot. But I remember, and I know I'm going back to kind of addiction, but I was saved from addiction through Narcotics Anonymous, and you hear the words and surrender and get to this step and you'll have a spiritual awakening. And I remember thinking, that's very regimental. Do this, and then you're going to get this, But as I say, I was on and off. I'll just be honest, I was on methadone, Subutex, all these things. At one stage, I was on a maintenance program of those for like a couple of years. And my mind, this was the way. And that was actually before I came along to NA, but and sort of. And I had been trying to clean myself up at this one stage, but when I had been high before, I had organised a great big party. And I'm very socially not good. So, I mean, you can imagine for someone, so I was using when I arranged the party, everything was booked. Then I got clean, and then I was like, oh, I'll be okay. Now I know you cancel that stuff. I was just actually speaking to someone today, like, it's, if there's something really important, how important is it going to be? If there's a funeral that you must go to, I was just speaking about this today, that a funeral at one stage nearly destroyed me. I went to my bed and got out of it for 2 years. And it wasn't because the person had died. It's because of something surrounding it. But so the party, so of course, and then so I had of course that I ended up having a drink, and when everyone went away and went home, there was so much alcohol there, so much left behind. And at that stage, I had decided I would like to drink Magners, and this was my current drink. And then I decided I can't. You don't waste stuff, like.
Yeah, it's a sin to waste, apparently.
I actually thought I would get some people to join me and we would drink this stuff together, but I got a shock because that was me waking up with a hangover for the first time in my life, wanting to reach for another drink, because this lovely Magner stuff was lovely and sweet and stuff, not like the old spirits that were hard to get down. So yeah, I went on a binge. I think it took me 10, 11 days to drink all the alcohol that was in the house. But I laugh now, but that time then I went into the NA room, and my sponsor she's an angel of a woman, my very first sponsor, but she was so good because she just told you. I was sitting in a row of seats, like behind the first row, and I actually didn't even realize I was doing it, but as I was doing my share, I was screaming at everyone, how the F do you get this surrender? How do you do this? I can't do this anymore. I can't keep trying and up and down. And how do you get this? How do you get this? And I must have went quiet for a second. And she said to me, maybe you just have done that. She says, look how you're sitting. And through my act of screaming, I was on my knees, with my hands up on the knees with the chair. And I looked down, but I still didn't think too much of it. But I do remember feeling uplifted by people's words to me. And NA is different from AA. NA is much younger, so you don't have all those people with all those years, so there weren't. And this was a very wee small meeting during the day, a wee small room. But I did leave there, and I did go to my bed and get up the next morning, and I could hear birds. And I know people say this and it sounds so cringy, but I could hear the birds tweeting. And it took me a wee minute to realise that I hadn't yet got the feeling inside of me of the withdrawals because of course there was the codeine in me as well, that it was like, let's rush and get this sorted, And I was like, that's strange. Now, I'm not going to say that I got a spiritual awakening that took away my withdrawals, my physical body, that are but I have to, I do have to say this, and sometimes it's really used to annoy me with people. I never used a drug or a drink from that day. I just went, but I knew that day, I said, there's going to be no medical detox here for me. For start off, there's a waiting list, and that messes you up. Someone goes 6 months time, you'll get in the waiting list. As I know this is happening now, I feel totally ready and able for this to happen now. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Now, I suffered. I did suffer. I mean, I suffered so bad with withdrawals that my skin could not be exposed. So I had a hoodie on me, zip up the whole thing, and my partner at the time had to drive me around. Just keep driving me around. On a Sunday we were out, and I remember I remember a young guy saying to me like weeks later, or however long it was, "You're looking better today." And I remember going, "Where did you see?" He's all, and he told me how I was at the last meeting he had seen me at, and I was basically rattling the whole table, the chairs, everything, and breathing. And he said, "I felt so sorry for you." But he also said, I looked at you and I don't ever want to get, end up like that.
Yeah.
But I did. That was the only time that I really detoxed, but it was the last time, So there was a spiritual awakening there. That's your NA spiritual awakening. But
well, I was dual addicted, so I used to go both to AA and NA as well,
me too.
And the fundamental principles are exactly the same, obviously, And what I learned was it's not a religious program, it's a program, and the central motto is, or one of them is, to thine own self be true, and I didn't have a clue what they meant by that, because up to that point, my whole life, I've been externally focused on things outside of myself. That's where I got all the information from, external resources. And I realized today is the answer to the global problems that we're going through is for people to basically turn their eyes the other way around and look inwards. That's based upon my experience and the experience of thousands upon thousands of other people, that what we're looking for, right, is not out there, it's in here. You know what I mean? And so it's to stop expecting and to start inspecting. But people were telling me that for a long time. But I was afraid to turn round and look at myself and face myself in the mirror, because all the guilt, all the shame, all the negativity, all the remorse, the resentment, the anger, all those things that were deeply buried in me, I couldn't face them. And that's why these people used to say to me, they're not ready yet. And I honestly believe, Rhea, I think that the people, everybody on the planet now is actually being forced, I'm going to say forced because it is a forced to self-reflect and to forgive themselves. And be in the act of forgiving themselves, it automatically helps you to forgive other people as well. So I think, there's a difference between sympathy, empathy, and compassion. And I think I'm at a point in my life now where nothing much bothers me emotionally. It's not that I haven't got any emotions. I've got plenty of emotions that are natural, but I'm not making them up with my head anymore. They're not sentimental, I'm not making them up in order to try and get a feeling, because I was brilliant at that. I was absolutely brilliant because my heart was closed I had to go and find methods to make feelings up, you know. And I would use music, and I would use poetry, and I would use really words to, you know, to sway people and to influence people. I was brilliant at emotional manipulation, you know. And now I can't be asked influencing people anymore. I just say what I say, and if they pick up what they pick up, that's fine, you know. But I'm not living my life to try and impress anybody anymore. I couldn't give it, you know. That was the whole thing, is look, I've achieved this qualification, I've done this, I've just done this, I've just done that, you know. It all, I do these things now for enjoyment for me. And people have called me now, you've become awfully selfish since you got sober, you know. And I know today is that's because I'm not running around after them like I used to all the time before. I don't know about you, but I was a gross people pleaser, me. Meaning that if anybody asked me a favor, without even knowing what the favor was, I would be saying yes. And when I did this favor for them, they'd be off snowboarding and skiing and enjoying their lives, you know, and I'd be resentful doing the work that they should be doing, you know. Now, Rhea, this is a good thing because nobody asks me for favors anymore.
Me neither.
Because they know what the answer is going to be, you know, and it does begin with an F and it ends with an F as well, you know. Do it yourself, or go and ask some other sucker or something closely rhyming to that one, you know what I mean? So do you think that you were a sort of maybe a gross people pleaser at all?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, even before addiction got heavy, but when addiction's there, and the eyes that are on your shelf are just that brain. And I mean, that brain is so good when you get relief from it. Like, remember what you did here, remember what you did there. So you must please everyone because, you know, you've got no self-worth, no boundaries. This is a word that I really didn't even know the description of until I met Miss Moulin. And she started to say to me, my very first reading, girl, you need boundaries. You need boundaries. And I'm like, you know, I know I have a brain, but what do you mean, you know? So yeah, and boundaries help me to love others more because there's a stop and there's a, you know, but the things, you know, I'll not get into it here, but the things that I did through people pleasing for people, because there are people who will hook into the people, the whatever that you called it, the people pleaser, and I just kept doing and doing, and you're right, it was like them in your head, then they were everything, you know. And you're right. I remember years ago through a bit of counselling learning that I had to start saying no. And when the yes was out before you knew what you were doing, I got to a stage then when the no nope nope.
Yeah.
And a wee while later I thought, well, that was only a wee tiny thing. I probably could have done that, but I was learning.
I think you get to some point where it's both and, you know, isn't it? It's some midpoint, and yes and no becomes yo. I've just realized that now. Yo, you know, will you do this for me? Yo, you know. But I'm what I've got this thing to ask you about psychic abilities, right? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Somebody who's psychic, you know. Because I got told, you know, people don't know this, but I was in trance mediumship for a long time. And I used to sit in a trance circle, you know, and I would feel all these energies come in and be almost like locked in place, paralyzed. And then all sorts of things would go on, you know. So that was part of my development. But the first time I went to a spiritualist, well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. When I got sober, right, I was sitting in my flat. I was on my own, you know, sitting in this flat in 9 stories up. And I, like you, got the same thing as I woke up into a new world where I looked at the television and it didn't make sense to me, you know, and I started to realize that nature was beautiful and all these things that I'd forgotten, you know. And from that point I used to sit there because somebody taught me a bit about transcendental meditation. So I was enthused by it. No, normally I'd think, oh, I'll give it a go. That's not working, and I'd dispense with it, you know. But I got really into this, and as I was going deeper into this transcendental meditation, I started to sort of hear very, very strong, sometimes voices, and I think, oh shit, I'm back to the psychiatric, because I was in the psychiatric department 6 times, you know, either drying out or for other reasons, you know. And I was diagnosed at one point with possible schizophrenia, you know. Now, I know that multiple personality disorder is basically potentially multiple intelligence order. But I was just so disconnected that one fragment or aspect of me would come in and start pecking at me, and then another one would come in and start fighting with that, you know. So I had this like mixed head. I know this is me talking to you, but I seem to be taking over, but never mind, I'll just keep going. So psyche, and they said to me, I got this voice said to me, go to the spiritualist church, right? And I thought, oh my God, right, what does that mean? And I phoned my sponsor up and I said, I got this voice said to me, go to the spiritualist church. He said, well, go. Right. I said, yeah, but it's against my religion, because I was brought up very staunch Roman Catholic, and anything like that was against the law, you know. And he said to me, but you agreed to put all your ideas, your emotions, all your attitudes, the forces that have guided you up to now, Joe, right, I took you to your death point where you tried to kill yourself. So we agreed when we did this that you'd take your head off and you just start to be guided from your heart. So anyway, cut a long story short, I went to the local spiritualist church. I'm sitting at the back because my bottle's going, you know, my bum was doing that, you know, on the seat. I was like sucked into the seat. And the medium came on and I thought, she just looks like a normal person, because my mind was thinking pointy hat, you know, broomstick and all that, you know. And it was lovely, this church. It was all white. They had Jesus's picture there. I thought, that's a bit strange, you know. They had the Lord's Prayer on. And I'm thinking, I can't handle this, you know, it's all weird. They sang Faith of Our Fathers, which was my favourite hymn. And I started to get a feeling of peacefulness. And this medium came on. She gave a philosophy, you know, and I thought, yeah, I can handle that, you know, that seems all right. And then she said, right, and I'd like to come to the new man at the back of the church. Oh, well, you can imagine then it was all, you know, and I thought, and I can even remember the coat I had on. It was hot, right? And I was sweating like a pig, but I wouldn't take this coat off because it sort of provided me with. And she said to me, oh, she said, I've got a lovely, lovely woman here. She said, I think it's your nan. And as she said nan, I started to feel emotional. In fact, I can feel it now. She said, I think it's your nan here. And she said, I don't know what she is, but she's holding up a bottle of Guinness, right? And she's pointing, right? And she's saying, I don't know whether this means anything, but son, you've taken the right steps this time. Well, that was it, you know, because I'd gone through the 12, yeah, I've got it now. It's with me again now. I went through the 12-step program. That enabled me to be free of all this nonsense, you know. And she said, you're being told by your nan, right, that you signed up for this, right? And if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have signed up for it, you know. And I started laughing then. And then she said to me, you'll be invited into a healing circle. Rhea, I didn't understand what they were talking about. They said you can go one or two ways here. You can develop your psychic abilities, or you can go down the path of spiritual healing. Anyway, as it happened, I went down the spiritual healing and the energy pathway. But the next thing she said, they could not have known this. She said, Jesus. She said, there's a man coming in here now, and he's got an Irish lilt, and he's singing a little song, me granddad. And she said, tell him that he lost his finger digging the first Mersey tunnel by himself. Now, my granddad lost his finger digging the first Mersey tunnel, not by himself. That was his little joke. And I came out of there crying my eyes out, right? And I ran like mad down the road back to an AA meeting because I thought I was losing it again. And that happened it's nearly 30 years ago since all these things happened. And since then, I've begun to understand that this world that we live in is only 1% of the ultimate reality that's going on. There's 99% going on in the invisible realms. And I think that all the veils, all the shields and everything are starting to, you know, people say this, the veils between the material world and the spiritual world are thinning more and more now. And that's why people are cracking up on the planet. I'm sorry to have gone on there, but I just feel that somebody may benefit from this, is that if you're having all these strange feelings and you think you're going off your head, it's actually a positive thing if you discuss with people who are a bit further along the path. They are. Zip it. Over to you now, Rhea. What have you got to say about that then?
What I have to say about that, definitely, we would have went for readings and stuff. Like, I know that my mum was kind of raised with a religion, and it was like divination, but she still dabbled when we were booking readings and stuff like that. And I would have seen stuff. But for me, it's dreams, and it has always been dreams. And I have had things a lot of the time as well. It'll be someone who's passed on, and they would come and tell me stuff or whatever. I remember one time my mum had this friend, healthy, exercised, I mean, way healthier than lots. And it was just in my throat to say, I had had a dream about it, about getting blood pressure and cholesterol check. And I and I remember thinking, this could embarrass my mum or what, but it was in there, and it was almost like, it just started to come out. And I was laughed at because, for started off, she was in her 30s and she was fit, healthy. Yeah. Turned out her cholesterol was sky high. She didn't go because of me, of course. Down the line, she found it out. That happens to me a lot. A lot of the time, because and I know I'm talking to a doctor here, when I was at school, it's such a fascination with anatomy and physiology, medicine, disease, why disease happened. And I think there was a knowing in there that it's more than, that it was more than just what it looks like. So I was always going to be a doctor, even to the extent that when I was doing my GCSEs, I had been told by someone, in medical school, they can look back that far to see how you did. So I was on it, made sure I got all the best of grades. I was doing all the A-levels. I got pregnant while I was doing a pile of A-levels, and then my life changed, but so I was always going into medicine in my head. And I mean, even that was very hard to accept, that I wouldn't be doing that with my life. But I had gleaned so much and read things and read all different sorts of things, so that if someone was talking about something strange in their body, I would hear or get. And back then, I always thought, I must have read that somewhere. It was in my brain somewhere, and they're talking about it, the sludge that came out. And the amount of times that it is right is just unbelievable. And especially with the dreams. My daughter could tell you right now, recently I started to have a series of dreams. Sometimes it's like Coronation Street, this certain set of dreams and this situation and these people, and maybe not every night, but every few nights, and I'll go back into the story. So as I say, I tell people now, and now it's usually just, my family, or, well, if it relates to someone, but if it doesn't relate to them, I'll stop. And I was telling my daughter, and this situation that I was dreaming about for this person we know was so unreal and unbelievable. This person has a great life, or whatever. I don't want to say too much, but detail after detail after detail. And I kept telling Keely the more details, and she came to me then one day and said, "Mum, you'll not believe this. Do you remember all that? That has all happened." And the whole place is so shocked that it happened. It's so unbelievable and all this. And I was just like, that has been the most profound. And it has been the most profound because it went on for weeks. And I remember going, why was that a thing? And then I actually got to the end of it then and found out why. It was a strange reason why I found out why. It was something to do with keeping my own family safe and stuff. And, that just happens. That's just how it happens all the time with me. I'm so open now. I do go lucid, and I can be lucid, but I also can just have the prophetic dreams. Quite recently, I know we're coming up to time, but quite recently, I have been at this stage of my life. I finally decided that I was strong enough in a way to do trauma therapy, deep trauma therapy. Started in the middle of COVID, which suited me because I jumped way up the waiting list because the girl could only do phone appointments and people didn't want them. And I'm like, that suits me. You have no idea how much that suits me. So I'd be talking with her, and I'm actually not even getting to the root of stuff with her. I'm talking around stuff. Then I'm going into dream, and I'm dreaming around it, and I'm dreaming about healing. And then what was happening was in the body, you know yourself, all these stuck emotions. And I've been chronically ill for years. And I knew this was part of it because Boggy, I've been doing Qigong with Boggy for a long time. And he doesn't only teach you, he teaches all around it in the philosophy. And I've had many one-to-ones with him and stuff. And because I'm trying to get well with a chronic illness, so I've got a good bulk of Qigong and then a good bulk of the understanding. Boggy actually gave me a bit of well, I'll not say prescription, that's too medical, but he gave me a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Because I said to him one day, I was doing a one-to-one, I says to him, how do I prepare my emotions, your jing, you change it, for this stuff? Because I know this stuff is very deep in my body, and my body's feeling it. I'm not in trauma, I'm processing trauma, but the body's paying the price. So he actually gave me moves, like, and he knows that I know them, like this move, and do this here before your counselling session. And then after it, to help do this and do your normal Qigong practice all the time, keep moving and do these. And, this is specifically for different things. And it's been a game changer. Actually, I did the usual thing where I did it for a week, and then kind of stopped and then paid and suffered, and, and then went back to it and stuff. And but the good thing, and I truly believe, and I've talked to Boggy about this too, that in the medical thing or whatever, counselling and therapy are great, but we need a safety net or some kind of this Qigong that helps the body, and then the people, because even when you're doing Qigong and you think you're doing an exercise when you don't have trauma, if you've got a good enough seafood, it'll teach you that it's doing a whole lot more. And you need to, because I've got a good base of people there now, and so I can discuss all this stuff. And in dream time, it's amazing what has been happening. I've been confronting people in dream time.
Yeah.
You would think that I would feel free enough to confront them when it's a dream, but I wasn't, and I didn't. And I've been just going, this is a thing. I may not have all the memories or all the pieces, but it's a thing, and it wasn't right. And that's that. And, I'm confronting you here now because I'm getting out of here. I'm letting this go, and I am forgiven and I'm moving on. But before I forgive, I'm just going to tell you about it. Before I forgive, I'm going to have a go at you about it. And of course, the person in the room went, no. And I went, no. There's this, and this. And at the very least, that was highly inappropriate or whatever, because I tortured myself for so long that I didn't have memories of things. So I was like, I can't feel this or feel that because, but no, but long story short, that's something I'm doing right now that I'm very much realizing that all the pieces are coming together. The dreams, the body work, the processing, the talking to friends, to get it all out. I'm just realizing you asked me about psychic things and I don't know where I went with that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I love Boggy. He's my mate. I've met him once in the flesh, but we have a thing that we get together. Sifu and Doc. It should be Doc and Sifu because
it is Doc and Sifu.
Oh yeah. Because I'm obviously far more important than he is, but we're like bookends, really. But I think that medical Qigong, and I think that you are a medical intuitive. I don't think, this is my feeling, I don't think that your education's over yet by a long chalk. I really don't. I think that you do yourself down on your intellectuality because I think there's a whole host of stuff that's going to start coming out there. So, that's what I'm saying is what I've realized more than anything else is you can think as much as you like, but it's only a fantasy until it gets realized. And the only way it gets realized is by incorporation and grounding and action on it, really. So I have a recurring dream that tests me, and it's as clear as anything, where I'm in a bar and someone's trying to force a pint of lager on me, right? And I have to say to them, I told you, right? And I'll smash your effing face in if you try it again. But I do not drink, and I never want to drink again. So that's almost comes back, right, in times when things are difficult, you know. And I found out that it's almost like you get shown in the dream what you need to do in this 3D physical reality, and then you have to take the steps. And as soon as you take the steps to overcome these childhood or maybe karmic fears, as soon as you actually take the step and mean it with all your heart and soul, a whole big infusion of new energy comes in. Well, it's not new energy, it's just energy that's being compressed. So it decompresses it and it empowers you then to go on to the next test that comes up. That's how my life seems to be, you know. I'm hardly afraid of anything ever now. And that's a real miracle. But I know it's because I've taken action now, slowly but surely, just to get over the fences. No one's going to be allowed to go round the fences anymore, because they'll be told to go around the other side, jump it, you know, that sort of thing. And I think we're all being encouraged. And it shows like this, I think, because my theme for this, setting this up, was practical, simple, straightforward solutions that have helped individuals like yourself, like me. Now, they mightn't help others. Other people might have to back off where we've had to go forward. You see what I mean? There's aspects where some people have to take a step back. Some people have to go forward. It's how do you know what to do in the moment? And that's what I'm helping people with what I call heart rate variability biofeedback and mindful breathing. You know, you can get to a point where you're given the choices. Is this action I'm going to take healthy, or is it harmful? And when you're sitting in that 0 point and you ask yourself that, you know what the answer is. There's no way of getting out of it. And then if you can summon the courage up then to take the appropriate action, then new doors open up, new energy flows in, and new courage comes in. And I think that this is the pathway to restoring and redeeming self-esteem, you know. So just before you go, we've got 5 minutes left, but just before you go, this wicked sense of humor, I need to talk to you about this, because it's the same sense of humor as I've got, as Shanine's got, and as Shaz Hargreaves has got, right? Right, because you're like the terrible twins, you two. I howl when I see some of your stuff, really, you know. And I know I get away with murder. I know that I do. But some of the stuff you put up, you know, I'm surprised it hasn't been taken down. Have you always had that sort of, I think people, it's an ironic sense of humor, and people get mixed up between sarcasm and irony. They think I'm a sarcastic person. I used to be, but I see the irony in almost everything now. It's meant with an open and flowing and loving heart, you know. I would never, ever, and I used to, but I would never, ever say something that I thought would physically or, you know, hurt anybody. So it's meant really to disarm people and as a little joke. So where do you get all these things from?
I steal them.
Oh, good, good.
Stealing of memes.
Right.
Of course, I'm part of loads of groups that are like, that have got names like Sarcastic Granny or whatever. And I go in because, do you know where it really started? And it's quite recent, because I was so socially shy and awkward that I did not post a single thing. And when COVID came up, the big C word, I knew intuitively that people needed more laughter and less worry, less fear. And then everyone was saying the immune system, and you know, I actually was telling people that. I was actually telling a woman who was really that worried about it, that she was having panic attack after panic attack. And I'm like, listen, me and you would have always had a good laugh. You have to laugh, you know. And I said it about the immune system, because I'm big into Bruce Lipton, you know. And so I kind of realized that I could phone people up and like that, who were suffering, and have a bit of a laugh and just try and lighten the spirit, and even a bit of knowledge, like about, you know, your immune system and all that. And then I thought on Facebook, I don't really, I'm not good at these poetry things like you and Janine and these nice pieces of writing, can't do it. See, even having to write 3 sentences for you the other day, boom. What I could do was give a laugh. And I thought I have to step out of my own comfort zone a bit, because I've been so nervous about anybody getting to know anything about me. And it kind of rolled from there. I got cheekier and cheekier and cheekier. And I just thought, there's nobody watching. There's actually, I have to say, there are some things that I pull back on. There are some memes and I go, oh, flip, maybe that's a bit too far. Those ones get sent privately to Boggy and Ava. So, yeah, but I just think nothing should be off the table. We're nearly done now, but I have another whole thing about, will I even go there and say it, but sexual shaming of women. And it's not just Ireland, and it's not just the religions in Ireland, it's all around the world. And I think women should be freer. And I know I'm saying women, people should be freer. We should all be free. We've all got bodies and the same body parts, and let's laugh.
I couldn't agree more. And that's what I used to do in drink. I just used to take all my clothes off. Right, that's true. And we live quite close to the river and stuff. I used to come round. I'd be swimming in the river, with no clothes on and stuff. Yeah, and the people in the pub would run after me, try and clothe me and all this. But I just wanted to be totally free. I mean, I love the sea. I love swimming, as you know, and stuff like that. But I just needed to be free. And I had bodily hang-ups, all sorts of things, a lot of to do with the Catholicism and all this. And I've seen my way through that now, through the cultural conditioning of eons of time, the patriarchy and all that. But I think people get mixed up, and I've said this a few times, especially to Shanine on her shows, that people get mixed up between male and female and masculine and feminine, because I am gay from the waist up. My bottom half works like a fella, but my top half works like a woman. And I'm all right with that now, because all my life I've tried to do that macho thing and never felt comfortable, And part of me, I'd get pissed and I'd go and play rugby, and I was like a tiger, if I got a certain, that one where you just hit the points where everything's flowing, I'd get onto this. And I'd be like a dynamo. If they give me the ball, I'd knock loads of people out of the way, And I was always hoping that I could be a man amongst men, But it never worked out for me until I realized, again, the both and phrase. I am both a mixture of all these, but so is everybody.
Yeah.
We've all got testosterone. We've all got testosterone. We've all got estrogen to varying degrees. The mix match of all those those sort of bipolar chemicals in us determine how we behave, So our biochemistry is important. I honestly believe that who we are, everything is processed initially between the ears. So if we spend more time focusing on the way we think and the way we emotionally process stuff through breathing and using emotion in a positive way, we can actually change the way our physical bodies behave. I think that's where Rhea, we've come to time, darling, and I just noticed before you had a guitar on one of these things I saw. Was that on your thing? Are you I saw a guitar somewhere. Is that yours?
Yeah, it's mine, but I cannot profess to be. Actually, the really good players in here in the bedroom. I just dabble. I love that kind of music. I just love anything with the guitar in it, acoustic at all. And I used to play, and I learned a wee bit years ago, but the memory's wiped out. You can't remember what I learned or how I did it. But I was very musical. Piano, I was self-taught. I was on the flute, in an orchestra, all that kind of stuff. But the guitar is my favorite. But the thing about the guitar is, of course, it's my favorite because it hurts you to learn it. Yeah. Your fingers.
Yeah. Oh no, so maybe on our next show then the musical side of you will come back then, because I've got a very strong feeling there'll be a queue of people wanting you to do this more often. What do you feel about that?
Well, I don't. I was better when I got on. I tell you, and I probably talked way too fast. I often do forget that people don't understand. But yeah, I almost went off, and I could do a whole show on sexual shaming of women and priming your that's not right. The things that get children more likely to be abused, and then that all goes into, because I have children, that we should be more open and the things that we should be. And if I had a thought a year ago that I would be sitting online saying that, But it's so true. You know, it's about being open, and there's a shame culture out there, and I'm just getting really passionate about that. I'm getting so passionate that I said to my friend Ava, I'm getting so passionate that I think I'm going to have to like go live on Facebook and start shouting at people about this, you know. So I'm just using that as an example of how I, you know, we'll see.
Well, I feel that very strongly, and I feel that this is an introduction of you to the world and possibilities that are emerging through you. I can feel it really clearly. So thanks very much for braving it. And thanks. It's lovely to meet you. And I feel like I've known you forever. I've got that, you know, that feeling. And keep in touch. Keep sending those memes. If you want to send me the ones that you're not quite sure about sending, I'll vet them for you and probably take your name off it and put my name on it, you know. I thought the one that amused me, you know, most was the one about that fella reading the book, you know, and the pleasure he got it from book reading. So
you've got to love a good book.
oh, absolutely. So I, you know, because it was excellent. So listen, Rhea, you look after yourself, and loads of love to you, and hopefully keep in touch. And thanks very much indeed for coming to see us.
Thank you for inviting me on, Joe. It's been a pleasure and an honour.
And have a lovely evening, my love.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.